Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids, and in today's video we're going to be diving in depth. Oh, we've got a guest star. Oh no, she's run away. I'll call her back in a second. We're going to be diving in depth into the new fusion token system and talking about which are the champions that you should be going for. Hang on, let me see if I can get our guest star back. Oh, she's coming. There she is. Oh, which would you go for? What's the best fusion? Think good. Who's the best, huh? You're the best fusion. She's like, oh no, I broke my webcam. Oh no, hi God. All right, crisis averted. We're back. Yeah, so how does this system work? Well, basically, whenever you complete a fusion, you will earn a fusion token. Now, this does not, I believe, include fragment fusions like Naldua was our most recent one. It's only including fusions either like this, a classic fusion with all the rares into epic, into a legendary, or just where you get fragments for epics, then you fuse the epics into a legendary. So this is excluding about half of the fusions per year, roughly, are fragment fusions. You are, number one, not going to get, I believe, a fusion token for completing those, and you also can't swap them. If it is a fragment-only fusion like Naldua, you can't swap that with your fusion tokens. You must swap an actual fusion into it. And then in terms of this, I did see a bunch of comments, by the way, of people saying, wait, tier 3 costs 1 and tier 1 costs 3. That's so confusing. It might be a good idea for them to change the tier names to tier 1, 2, and 3 to match the cost. Doesn't make a huge difference, but it is just a little bit funny. And one of the issues, I suppose, with this sort of job and how you name the tiers and whatnot. But yeah, it doesn't matter too much. It costs obviously 1 for the tier 3 champions. You are generally going to avoid most of these. We'll break down the specifics. 2 for the tier 2. These are going to be generally, there's a couple worth it in here perhaps, but more niche. And then tier 1 for 3 cost are generally going to be the ones we're going to go for. Okay, we're going to discuss it in this video. But seeing as you are going, like, for example, let's say I had 3 tokens here for Pelops, the Victor. If I was to fuse him, I would get +1 and I would end up on 4. If I had enough tokens to swap something in, I would not earn a token for completing the fusion. So funny enough, in a way, it's almost like this costs 4, this costs 3, and this costs 2, because you've got the opportunity cost of missing out on a token. That only matters if you need more tokens, but it's something that's worth noting because you're going to miss out on a token by swapping in a fusion. There you are. I would say another tip is going to be just generally, if you do happen to pull it happens. So I've seen it already. A few people saying, hey, I've pulled Pelops the Victor. That's unlucky because he's the first one and there's nothing to swap in. But this is always something that's worth considering. Let's say you pull a fusion, mid-fusion, you could still complete the fusion to get a duplicate and to get a token. But if you happen to pull a fusion and you go, well, I don't really want or need to complete it, that might be a good opportunity to swap things in. And a tip, obviously, as well, as of right now, until I think, because that could happen at any point, you could pull a fusion mid-fusion. And it might be the perfect opportunity for you to chase your Fabian or whatever, your Titus or your Wixwell, whatever. It's, I think, a very good idea to try to get up to a stockpile of 3 fusion tokens pretty quickly. Like, that's a good safe spot to be. So it does mean that until you have 3 tokens in your bank here, that completing fusions is higher priority than it would otherwise be, which is obviously why they've done it, right? That's why they've done it, right? Let's jump into the stuff. All right, so the first thing, I actually did a whole video on this, and you can watch it. I'm going to give you a slightly updated version of this right now, but when was this? This was at the start of the year. It's funny, then Mercurial set really took off and things have changed a little bit, but I gave you a in-depth fusion tier list at the start of the year, so you can watch that full video to get in-depth thoughts about everything. I'm just gonna so yeah, that's gonna be your in-depth coverage for every single fusion and my thoughts on that. What I'm gonna do here instead, realistically, you're not gonna be doing most of these. I'm gonna cover like the best of the best, maybe the top 10 or so that are worth considering that you might actually legitimately go for, because there's plenty in here. Like, let me say, for example, who's like perfect example. Oh, I would say, yeah, I'd say that, Razelvarg's a good he's like perfect example of going like, oh, he's a really good champion, he's great. However, considering that you're probably only going to be getting about 6 of these tokens max per year, there's probably only going to be a few opportunities per year to even swap this stuff in at all. Are you actually going to end up in a situation where you have enough tokens to swap something in, and a new fusion, which tend to be pretty good, is noticeably worse than Razelvarg would be for your account versus other stuff? Like, I just don't think so. I think that there's going to be some extremely good fusions that are worth swapping in, but it's actually going to take you so long. It's the Raid Shadow Legends effect. It's going to take you so long to actually action any of this stuff. I think there's plenty of like, pretty decent fusions that you're never actually going to get in this system, right? Anyway, look, here's this, and let me give you the updated version. And what I'm going to do, I will share this updated version on my Discord server. And one thing we don't know for sure is when they're going to add in, for example, Pelops the Victor. Is he going to appear in? I would guess he's probably going to be a tier 2, would be my guess. Is he going to appear in here immediately after his fusion? Will they wait a year to add them in? What's going to happen to the fusions of 2026? We simply don't know. Naldwa is not in here, for example. So we simply don't know when they will appear or where they will appear. So bear that in mind, but I will do an updated list. Let's say if they add them all in a big chunk, I'll do an updated list. But yeah, this is, ta-da, my current fusion rankings. And let's really just focus in on the top ones that you are actually going to go for. And I have made a couple of substantial changes here which would affect things. So in the must-do tier, and we'll talk about some of the S tier, the top of the S tier as well. In fact, I would say that these 7 champions here, this really covers what 99% of you should be going for if you're going for anything. So the SS tier, as I've labeled it here, these are must-do fusions. These are incredible, and they are incredible standalone champions. They are the best of the best champions that you're going to use a ton, even without their partner. Let's talk about Donatello first. Donatello is a champion who he's just grown. The more that I've played, the more and more he has grown on me. Now, he is not part of this fusion system, unfortunately. He was a time-limited champion. I do suspect that they might bring him back, though. So I would consider that as something that could be quite valuable for you. It is possible that they could be like, surprised Donatello is back in this pool. That they might be like, end of 2026, like, oh, surprise, we're bringing the turtles back for like 2 or 3 months. Donatello's back as a thing. I'd guess he'd probably be a 3 cost. So it might be worth having a stockpile of fusion tokens to jump in. More likely they might bring him back in events because people might not have a stockpile of fusion tokens, but it's something to note. And it's just worth noting here, he's not part of this system, but if he did come back, number one, he has just exceeded my expectations as a standalone champion, bringing incredible survivability to teams, but also that cooldown reduction, which is so valuable. You could see him, I use him with my Predator, for example. Check out my Siege video. It's probably out by the time you're seeing this from this week. You can see me using Donatello. We're like a rank 6 clan or something. We're fighting the rank 12 clan in Siege. You can see Donatello in action and kicking ass. I think he's insane. But yeah, he's not part of this system right now. Now, 2 that are part of this system are Fabian and Newt. I think that Fabian is the best option overall right now. He is a PvP menace. So all of the arenas and Siege, he is going to be a first pick choice in almost all of those fights. And he's a champion would be worth chasing a 6-star soul for. Like, save up your 300 red essence and upgrade him. If you're lucky enough to have a 5-star is something that's worth considering, or simply just buying every star level if you have to. He's the sort of champion that's worth doing it for. He is insane. Why is he so insane? Because he's got buff removal. That's also a hit. And then increases enemy skill cooldowns. Downside is he can weak hit against magic affinity and fail to increase their skills. That's his weakness. The benefit, though, is he knocks off a point of total guard, increasing skill cooldowns is one of the only things that goes through Total Guard as well. So in the Mercurial meta, he is bonkers good. Decreasing enemy buffs can potentially remove Stone Skin, etc. It's incredible. His A2 is an insane amount of crowd control. He can also be fearing enemies when they revive as well, which is super useful. His A1 can decrease turn meter, which is really useful as well. And he's got a speed aura, which is okay for arena. It's certainly usable in live arena. Not great for classic. Decent for tag. Very, very good for siege. So yeah, he's not super useful outside of that. He does help a ton with Undead Horde faction wars, for sure, but he's not massively useful, I would say, in PvE. You'll use him a little bit, but he's mostly for PvP, but he is so stupidly good for PvP. He is the best PvP fusion we've ever had, and he is still worth it to this day. One thing, before we talk about Newt, one thing that has changed, I have demoted Armans. I had him in SS must-do before. I've demoted him down. It just shows you how much things can change over the course of a year. This time last year, Fabian had just come out. We're having the big debate. Is Fabian as good as Armans? I think a year later, Fabian is miles better than Armans, noticeably better. Armans is still very good. The funny thing is, we look at Armans, like this A2, AoE, steal all turn meter, steal it, and stun them as well on a 3-turn cooldown. So he can steal all the turn meter, just get back to a turn immediately. He can spam this thing, and just enemies can't escape from the crowd control. This move is so stupidly overpowered. However, the Wand of Submission Relic and Mercurial Gear has really rendered him not anywhere near as much of a threat as he has been in the arena. Now, if you're earlier game and you're not fighting enemies with lots of Wand of Submission and lots of Mercurial Gear, he is absolutely insane. And he's incredibly strong for faction wars as well, though not really for any boss content in the game. But yeah, I think he is a very strong fusion. Like, his A2 is just completely overpowered. The unfortunate reality is that there's just more overpowered counters to him in the meta for PvP right now. That, yeah, it's just the Raid Shadow Legends way of balancing things, right? Is bring out something that's completely broken and then bring out something new that's completely broken that counters the old previously broken thing. And it's just a bit unintuitive and bad, frankly, but it is what it is, and that's where we're at. Now, Newt would be the other big one to get for anyone who doesn't have Newt, and he was wonderful standalone champion. The nice thing is when you do eventually get Marius, or if you happen to pull other enemy max HP multi-hitters, so I've gone to the wrong faction, like a Wallmaster Atharion, or let's say you happen to get an Acrisia or whatever, you know, people with a couple of double AoE attacks, you can start to build some pretty cool teams for speed farming dungeons. Newt is also particularly good for hard mode Fire Knight, which is doable with epics, but it's much easier if you've got a Newt. You've got the triple hit A1, which can freeze, particularly good for Fire Knight hard. The triple hit enemy max HP, fantastic for speed farming so many bosses in the game, especially, as I said, when you combine him with another enemy max HP damage dealer. So Newt, for me, I do expect him, like, I think they're already bringing out bosses where they've got smaller, they got a stronger capped enemy max HP damage, so instead of the 10% enemy max HP cap, 10% enemy max HP. Let's say you go in with a Marius and a Newt, both of them enemy max HP, nuke the boss, then you use a champion like Prince Kaimar or Donatello or whoever to reduce their cooldowns. They go in, they do it again. You can kill a bot, right? Triple hit from Newt, let's say a double hit from Atharion, reset them, 5 enemy max HP hits for 10% max HP each, reset it, go again, you've 100%, you've killed a boss, right? That's the speed farm. They're now bringing out bosses with like 5% enemy max HP caps. It might get even worse in the future, who knows? So I think Newt will probably fall off over time, but for right now he is insane. And obviously for progressing, you're like, okay, Nub, like they might bring out some crazy endgame content where enemy max HP is weaker in the future, but there's so much content for me to still get through in the game. There's no better champion for PvE than the Newt. Donatello's up there, but you can't get him anymore. So Newt's up there. So there you go. Boom. 2 of those. In fact, so yeah, we've covered all of that. Now, the S tier is spicier. I've put partner, by the way, in whatever quotation marks, because it gets a bit more complicated here. So Titus and Wixwell, these would be the obvious 2, because they are complete. Go away. Good pack, but go away, because they are completely broken, right? Like, My perfect example of why it's completely broken, 2.14 billion damage here. Titus has actually done over 3 billion damage. Literally, the game is not physically capable of displaying a higher total damage number. It's completely broken, right? Titus and Wixwell. Titus, his damage scales. Can I click on him here? No, of course I can't. His damage on his A2 scales off of how big his shield is. And Wixwell not only provides a shield, but extends the duration, which is crucial. And he grows the shield as well. He makes it bigger. So the two of them together are completely busted. Completely busted. It is disgusting, right? And that is true for, yep, it's true for Hydra as well. There we go. It's true for Clan Boss as well. Again, we've got the 2.14, of course, because that's as high as it can go. Did we see it in Hydra? It goes higher in Hydra, actually. Okay, it goes higher. Hydra works. Not broken there, but yeah. Titus and Wixwell. Now, the thing is, here's the thing. If you've got one of them, the other one jumps up super high. In fact, it arguably jumps up higher than anything in the SS tier. And that would be my priority. I think you could reasonably pick up Fabian or Newt first, but if you've got Titus but no Wixwell, you could easily pick up Wixwell even before these other ones if you want to unlock that crazy clan boss potential for all the clan bosses. Yeah, likewise, if you got Wixwell but no Titus, again, Titus jumps up in value. Now, if you don't have either of them, it becomes a much more difficult conversation, because going back to what I'm talking about at the start of this video, right? You're not going to get that many tokens per year, and you would need 6 because they cost 3 for Titus, 3 for Wixwell. You might only get 6 in the year. And obviously, if you replace one of the fusion, let's say you pick up, I would pick up Wixwell, I think it's a better standalone than Titus. And so you pick up Wixwell, well, that's -1 token in the year. So you're probably looking at a year and a half, really, to get both of them. Like, it's that bad, unless they improve this system in some way. It's going to take so long to get them both. And by the time you get them both, at the rate Plarium is going, there might be some new, like, there's nothing right. Like, for example, there's nothing. This team is so much better than everything else. There's nothing that can compete with it. It's just stupid. It's broken. It's overpowered. Again, it is just dumb. It's dumb. But what will they do? Are they ever going to balance it or add in more options? Like, probably no. They're just going to release something new and stupid and dumb. And if it takes you like a year and a half to get Titus and Wixwell together, by the time you get them both in a year, it could be over a year. There might be either something new and broken that just makes this old broken thing irrelevant. There might be something new in the meantime, or because it's taken you so long to get it, there could be something new within the next few months afterwards to chase. And you go like, okay, well, I've got this broken team, but now there's an even more broken team, and my current broken team is now irrelevant. It's been power crept into obscurity. That is something that is worth considering. So I do think if you have neither of these, I would probably rather pick up the Fabian or the Newt. I'd probably rather play the shorter term game. When we're talking even shorter term here, it could take you 6 months to get one of these. But they're likely, at the time, if they're still really, really good value, and I will do a big update video on this if stuff radically changes, but, you know, they're likely to still be extremely good value for you and will give you lots of value. Like, you could get these within 6 months and be getting big value, big impact on your account right then and there. As soon as you build up the 3 tokens and there's a bad fusion for you to swap out instead, you could immediately get your Fabian or get your Newt and start having big impact, account progress. Let's go. I would personally go for that over picking up Wixwell and then going, okay, well, guess we got to wait another half a year to have the opportunity to pick up the Titus. That would be my inclination, would be to secure something that is good immediately, not something that's good, but now I've got to wait for something in the future. I guess one thing to note, Titus is a Void Legendary, so he's harder to get than Wixwell. So, I mean, you could get the fuse the Titus and hope to pull Wixwell from shards. But yeah, my inclination would be to not go for one of them unless you have pulled the other partner or you have the other partner. I think is probably where we're going to end up. Because yeah, it's just going to take so long to get them both through this system. Owella partner in brackets, or sorry, quotation marks, because Oella, funny enough, she does have a partner, but that's not who I mean. Her partner is Ultin of the Shell. I don't mean him. Her partner is actually Titus and Wixwell here for the purposes of my thing. The reason is that they're particularly good in, let's see an example. There's Don, but here we go. Look at that. Like, particular couple of teams back to back. Beautiful. Oella in there with Titus and Wixwell. What is she doing? She's giving extending buffs, which is very good for Wixwell shields, but giving increased resistance as well and decreased speed on her A1. So the decreased speed is lovely, gives you more time to ramp up and actually do damage. Increased resistance makes it much easier to build the stats in these champions. So she is a very nice partner champion to them, and she's a budget alternative to Androck here. She's a budget alternative to Androck. He is better, particularly with Senna, but you can see, I mean, like, you know, Clown's on 1.9 with the Senna and Androck. I mean, he's not that far behind his Calimbral there with Oella instead, so she is very strong. I think I saw somebody's using them. Yep, there we go. Ra here using her with the Titus and Wixwell in Hydra. So you've got the buff extension, the increased resistance, so they can't steal the shield buffs off Titus, and it makes it far easier to gear up that team. Otherwise, you need crazy gear. Without increased resistance, you need crazy gear to have enough resist. And Oella, like I said, Androck's the other option who has increased resist, but also buff extension. So yeah, that is why I would be putting her pretty high value. So she is one that's worth considering, and she also goes very well with Pelops, if you're going to throw Pelops into the team. Throw in a Lydia, throw in Oella alongside Titus Wixwell, Pelops, Oella, Lydia. Boom, it's a beautiful Hydra team with mostly like fusion or guaranteed champions. So she is definitely worth considering to grab in this fusion. I think she is one that people would overlook, but she is effectively a partner champ to Titus and Wixwell. Again, obviously, I put her lower down to signify you would obviously get the Titus Wixwell as the core duo. She's not necessarily a third, but she is a strong option to put with them. Again, I think Donatello is better than her with them, but he's not available currently. But yeah, they are. Again, you saw a team with all four of these particular champs in there, plus the Lydia, and it's a beautiful team, right? Krokad and Shayak, this is a partnership. I would probably pick up Shayak first, Krokad above Shayak. He's just a really good damage dealer. When you partner him up with Shayak, he becomes an absolutely phenomenal damage dealer. Shayak does have combinations with other of these dogs, but it's not particularly useful. Krokad's the main one, unless they add more in the future. But they are both extremely strong and wonderful together, and very easy to use, very easy to work on full auto. They're actually very strong in PvP if you build them for that. You generally don't see it because he's so good for PvE. People are usually using him for PvE. But Shayak puts out ludicrous damage. If it wasn't for stupidly broken stuff like Titus or Trenda, this guy would be absolutely stomping stuff all over the place. He's like ridiculously strong for a non completely busted broken level damage dealer. So they're up there as well. I think this is where most people will be aiming for it. Now also we've got Sir Nick and Lady Noelle. I think would be worth it as well. Both void legendary, so very difficult to pull, but if you happen to pull one of them, they get much better. And let me actually mention Tormin in here as well, and actually Ancora is worth putting in this conversation too, where I think Lady Noelle is good on her own, but she's significantly better with Sir Nicholas because her A2 basically becomes the best unkillable move in the game. I guess Theodosia's revive is up there as well, but Lady Noelle's pretty darn close, and her stuff being irresistible and unblockable, her freezes, is really, really good. But she benefits massively from having Sir Nick because her A2 goes from like an okay move to an insane move with Sir Nicholas. It's very strong. Sir Nicholas is very good without Lady Noelle. He's very good with her. But, you know, they're such a good duo that, you know, they're worth going for. Now, in contrast, the other freeze duo, Hilvi and Tormin, they buff Sir Nick to make the duo stronger. Hilvi doesn't need Tormin, right? Hilvi is much better than Tormin, and she doesn't need him. Now, she makes Tormin a lot better, right? She's going to be activating his skills for free, but she personally doesn't really gain anything. Now, obviously, if you've removed their buffs and you've frozen them, the Blizzard Rage skill from Tormin is really good, so that's lovely. but she doesn't need him. I actually use her without Tormund myself, despite having both of them. I am putting Tormund a rank below. I think Sir Nicholas makes Lady Noelle. I think the duo here is incredible. I think the Hilvi and Tormund duo, I think you can absolutely run Hilvi without Tormund, and she's basically as good. Perhaps it's even, you can build better teams without him in there. But he is a very good duo. Again, he's in the well worth it category. So if you've got Hilvi, again, he's worth it. He's a reasonable choice. Not as good as these, but he is reasonable for sure. And he's Void Legendary, difficult to get. They're both very good. And Korra is, I think, another good example. I think she gains some value with her partner, but you don't need to run her with her partner. She's very good without Narcisse. She's a bit better with him, but she doesn't need him. But they are a nice partnership. If you've got Narcisse, then getting Ancora jumps a lot in value, I would say, because they are a good partnership for Siege and decent for PvP as well, like arenas. But I put her at the bottom of this. I think the others are better, and that's a lot of better champions to have before you go for her. Just mentioning the A tier, I think I had Nishak in the SS before. I've moved him down to A tier. Mercurial just makes bombs much less valuable, but he is very strong. I've moved Python up a bit. One thing to note, Mad Hatter, I think, only costs 2, and he's actually, you saw him again in some of those Titus teams. I'm surprised, to be honest. He's the big surprise for me in the 2 cost. I think he's notably the one that should be up in the 3 cost. I think in the 3 cost, I would say that Yukimasa is notably the one who should be lower. So I think, in theory, they should really be swapped. He's kind of a bad deal, as it were, and Mad Hatter is kind of a good deal. I think Mad Hatter is very nice, particularly for bosses. He's got a really good ally attack and buff extension, which is super valuable. He ends up being more valuable than people would think. Rotus is a great PvP champion. Stock can be very good. He'd almost be in the partnership tier with Stock. Very good with Vizig for Faction Wars. If you happen to have Vizig, very difficult to get. Very good with champions like Volcanos or Nell. Volcanos or Nell in Arena, though that's fallen off a bit with Mercurial. I'd still put him in the well worth it category. He's a good solo champ as well. Because I think Poisons and Burns are not as good anymore because of Mercurial and PvP. I wouldn't put him up into the S tier. I'll put Duna. With Vizig, he's very good for PvE content, but I think still makes it A tier for me. Bambus, after his buff has gone up, so has Harvest Jack. And yeah, I think you could even, in theory, pick up some of these. Like, you might go, well, you know what? Yukimasa actually helpful for me. He's been a bit of a disappointment for me. It's like he's a good damage dealer. He's a good reviver, but he's not amazing at either thing. And that he's not the best at either thing. And that makes him a bit awkward, I find. He's good. But is he good enough? Like, I don't know. I'd almost prefer he was a bad damage dealer but excellent reviver, or an excellent damage dealer but really bad reviver. He's like good at both. I just find he's a bit awkward to fit into teams, to be honest. But if they bring out a good like Shadowkin healer, block debuff sort of champ that you happen to have, he could be worth picking up for Faction Wars because it's a very difficult faction to stay alive in. So that's worth mentioning. And like Maria, Granite, Ash has done lots of videos on Granite. Maria is thought like even these optional champions are okay, and you might consider picking them up. I just think there's a lot ahead in value that you would be looking at or frankly going for. And I could even, I might even move Aestrid down a bit, but typically like Thor's a good damage dealer. Bambus after his buff is quite nice for Hydra, but I'll move him down a bit as well, maybe down to here. Emic opens up some interesting team compositions for progressing in the game with his unkillable buff and cooldown reduction. That's nice. Uko, much like Python, team revivers with defensive benefits are good. He's not quite as defensive as Python, so he's not quite as good, I would think. He's all right for some PvP, though. He's worth it. And yeah, I think Margain is really nice with Grim Forest, especially, and for Amius. Brogni and Helicath both solid. Aestrid solid. Like, yeah, the A tier, I think you could potentially pick up any of these, but I'd be going for the higher value ones first. And follow the key things that I've talked about in this video. The SS tier are the premium standalones. I should also mention with Donatello, if they did bring back the other turtles, I think he could arguably jump to the top, because then you could run the 4. If you've got Leonardo, Raphael, and the other one, Michelangelo, Donatello, then is also a partner, so he massively jumps him, so he's insane for that. So good in basically nearly all content, apart from Live Arena where they can get banned, but super good value there. Yeah, Yeah, these are standalone, massive impact to every account will use these a massive amount. They're huge impact. Yeah, simple. Then these champions, they need specific partners to go with them. But if you have the partner, they massively jump in value and become ludicrously useful as well. And then the A tier are all very solid options that you might pick up. Even some of the B tier you might pick up. I would say it does fall off. Like, ally attack from him is decent. He's decent if you got Oella, but like they sort of fallen off in value like as you go down. Like, you might reasonably pick up some of these, but will you actually? You might never pick up any of these B tier. They're very optional. The A tier, you've got a few good champions in here that could be worth it if you've got a bad fusion to swap in instead. Definitely. But yeah, you're really going to mostly be focused on the absolute best of the best because you're only going to be able to do 1 or 2 of these max per year. So why would you go for anything that's not the best, right? It's only if you've got the best already, you might pick up one of these. So there you are. Thank you for watching. Let me know. You know what? Let's be spicy. I'm going to actually put Mad Hatter ahead of Arman's. I think by the time you've got enough tokens to actually do this, Arman's will likely be falling off a little bit, whereas Mad Hatter is just all, I don't know. Let's leave it like let's leave it like this. Screw it. But what's one spot in the tier list? It hardly matters, does it? But yeah, there you go. Hopefully this is helpful to you. What am I going to do? For me, well, I'm missing these. I mean, I quite like Killian because he's Irish. Killian the Lucky, the Shamrocks, my Irish pride. I want him. But yeah, for me, if there's a really bad fusion at some point, I might pick up Emic, but I'm not in a massive rush or anything like that. And like, it means giving up a fusion. For me, it would probably be, I might even just stockpile these tokens. And for me, it might honestly be, I'd rather just get the new fusion, right? But I might swap out a non-void bad fusion for Emic, right? Maybe. Because I'd be more likely to pull the bad, a non-void than to pull Emic. But it might be the case where it might be just like, oh, I happen to pull a fusion mid-fusion. If that ever happens to me, I could throw Emic or throw Molly in, and I'm happy enough with that. I've got pretty much all of them. I messed up the Emic. By the way, I tried to do the Emic fusion, missed one event, and missed it. That was a mistake. I wasn't playing the game at the time of Molly. I wasn't playing the game at the time. I actually forgot he was a fusion. Wasn't playing the game at the time of these 2 fusions, and then I skipped these 2 ones intentionally. I do think Lariaka's all right. Now, she got buffed, and she's all right. Again, not a must-have, very much optional. She's all right. But, yeah, there you go. So, there you are. Thanks for watching. Hopefully, this is helpful. Let me know, who are you going to be going for? Who are you going to choose? Let me know in the comments. I will post this on my Discord channel so you can easily find it and reference back to it. The Discord channel is in the description down below. And yeah, thanks for watching. Hope it's helpful. I will see you next time. Goodbye.